You know, in the world of commercial real estate, there are some opportunities you just can't afford to miss. And right now, there's a huge one. A tax deduction so powerful it can completely change the financials of a project. But, and this is a big but, it has an expiration date. So today, we're diving deep into Section 179D.
Okay, let's just start with this number, $5.94. If you're a building owner, an architect, an engineer, this number right here should make your ears perk up. It's a really big deal. And that's not a one-time thing. We're talking about a potential tax deduction of almost $6 per square foot. Now just do the math on a large project. You're suddenly looking at hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars in tax savings. It's huge. But, like I said, there is a deadline, a pretty serious one. So the big question is, how do you actually get your hands on this deduction before the clock runs out? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. Let's start from the top. All right, first things first, what in the world is this Section 179D deduction anyway? Think of it like this. The government basically wants to reward you for making commercial buildings more energy efficient. It's a tax deduction specifically designed to encourage greener construction by targeting the big three systems: your HVAC, your lighting, and the building envelope itself. So, who gets to claim this? Well, obviously commercial building owners are at the top of the list. But here's where it gets really interesting. For projects built for the government or tax-exempt groups, think schools, universities, hospitals, the deduction can actually be passed on to the architects, engineers, or contractors who did the design work. I mean, that is a total game changer for design pros. Okay, so remember that almost $6 figure we started with? How do you get from a nice deduction to that maximum blockbuster number? Well, it all comes down to three little letters: PWA. Just look at this chart for a second. The difference is, wow. If you just meet the base requirements, you're looking at maybe a little over $1 per square foot, which, is fine. But if you meet what's called the Prevailing Wage and Apprenticeship, or PWA requirements, that number explodes. It multiplies by 5, all the way up to that incredible $5.94. So what is this PWA thing? It's actually pretty straightforward. Prevailing wage just means you have to pay your laborers and mechanics the fair local rates. And apprenticeship means a certain percentage of the work needs to be done by qualified apprentices. So really, you're investing in a skilled workforce and getting a massive tax break for it. It's a win-win. Now, I have to be clear about something. This is not like just checking a box on your tax return. Not even close. Getting this deduction is a really technical process, and you absolutely need to bring in the experts. It's a real team effort. Yeah, you can't just grade your own homework here. The process requires a qualified third party, we're talking a licensed professional engineer or contractor, to come in and do the heavy lifting. They have to run sophisticated energy models, then actually come out for a site visit to make sure everything was installed correctly, and then they can officially certify the whole thing. And that right there is why everyone has to be on the same page. Your design team, your contractors, the special engineers doing the certification, and of course your tax team. They all have to be communicating and working together to pull this off and get all the documentation right. And here's a pro tip for all the building owners out there. 179D doesn't live in a vacuum. It actually pairs incredibly well with another powerhouse tax strategy called cost segregation. When you use them together, you can accelerate depreciation and seriously, I mean seriously, boost your property's cash flow. Okay, let's get to what might be the single most important part of this whole conversation, the deadline. Because this amazing opportunity, well, it's not going to be around forever. Under the current law, Section 179D is set to sunset. That's just a fancy way of saying it's going away. Here's the date you need to circle, highlight, and put on every calendar: June 30th, 2026. To qualify, your construction project has to start before that date. If you start on July 1st, you've missed it. It's that simple. And let's be super clear on this because it's important. The building doesn't have to be finished and open for business. It just has to be started. That start of construction date is the only thing that matters for eligibility. The window is definitely closing, folks. So, as we wrap this up, it really all boils down to this one question for you. Is your next project about to leave potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars just sitting on the table? With this deadline barreling down, you really have to ask if you're planning for this or if you're just going to let it slip away. Look, the time to start thinking about this was yesterday. The time to act is right now. You need to be talking to your tax team and getting a 179D specialist on board to look at your projects. Of course, just a reminder, this is all for informational purposes. You've got to consult with your own advisors for your specific situation. But seriously, don't sleep on this. This is an opportunity you really don't want to miss.